unravel not only their recent diagnosis, but to take that information off of their screens, off of the data, and into everyday life. And I think
Mm.
that's the challenges that we face today. And so that's why I'm never bored with my job, because there's just so much texture and so much connection to people that I enjoy, and my experience, provided, of course, my strong opinions. Everyone has an opinion based off their experiences, and so that those 15 years ago, that experience of feeling so alone, even how to talk to an authority figure like my doctor, left me feeling alone. So what we do is like what you're saying is like, okay, yes, we need to go within, and then we need to find communities that are supportive, understanding, and have a lot of compassion, and understand what is at hand, what the
Right.
challenges are at hand.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I love the name Hello Palette, because
I'm having before, and I see a green juice.
no,
Is
this
it a
is a
green
green
juice?
shake. Yeah, this is not a juice.
Okay.
um, and I can elaborate what's in this if you want, but I
Sure.
love the name Hello Palette, because I believe the palate is the number one barometer. And I learned a long time ago that if I eat something bitter, like it coming from a culture that's sweet and salty, and because there's only 5 flavors, we have to understand: sweet, sour,
Yeah.
salty, astringent, and bitter. There's only 5, and those govern our main organ systems, but those are
Yep.
actualized on our palate, on our tongue.
Yeah.
So if you
Bitter.
go and you eat something,
Vile.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. And so
It
if
stimulates.
someone, yep, yes, ma'am. If you see
Okay.
someone and you're like, hey, you maybe should try eating some sauerkraut, because it's beneficial for you in whatever way. And we'll digress on what those benefits. Most people know the benefits of sauerkraut: probiotics, fiber, blah, 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 certain acids. But if you give that to someone who's never really had it, and you look at this person, you can tell they're having some health challenges, and that's probably why you're having this dialogue with this person to begin with, right? I know when I did consults in the past, it's happened a lot. You will literally get someone's face like, sauerkraut, right? Like, and
Yeah.
and then like, well, just try it, and the same thing happens. They're just like, their face. This is a sign. This is a sign that that's
Yes.
actually what you need. Yeah, you need this. You need this, but you're not ready for the normal dose, right?
No.
You've deprived yourself for so long on only eating these maybe 3 flavor constituents, right? That you're so weak in these others. And you have to
Yeah.
understand that this is a path and road to healing, and that your body will tell you. So you have to embrace the discomfort,
Yes.
embrace the pain. We have to be grateful for it. It's a beautiful day. Thank you for the sunshine. Thank you for the rain, right?
Yeah.
We have
Yeah.
to understand that, the only way we're going to grow is through opposition, is through that phase, is through those experiences. And that's the only way we're going to become better. I feel like we need to remove ourselves from what's this guy doing, or what's this guy taking, or what's this guy saying, and go within the palette. Like I
Yes.
talk about spiritual, but then like even more so, go within your own barometer, your palate. Hello, palate. Hello.
We want to eat healthier, but we want to taste foods that are great to us. And I do take it as a personal challenge when someone says to me, I don't eat beets. I'm like, all right, well, let's talk about this. Did you have canned beets? I'm not dissing canned beets. I think there's a lot of applications for beets. Okay, you can get beets into your life. But let's just talk about, how to address this to your palate. There's so many ways you can coach your palate to enjoy these flavors. Let's put a little bit of cara orange, blood orange with it, and we'll roast those flavors together with some sage and put it in the
Mm,
oven with some honey. I'm telling you, you're gonna like your beet.
right.
And
You'll love it.
if it's not that sort of cooking technique, maybe we shave it in a salad. and you eat it, incorporated with something that's a little less earthy, like something brighter sense. So you really, now is beets like going to be the end all? You need beets in your diet? No, but it's just an exercise to let
Right.
people say no,
Right.
just to try to expand because, again, diversity in our soil, diversity in our gut, bringing in so many different foods are also good for our planet. Like, not to be so myopic and eating one way or the other, but it's
Right.
just, trying to expand on different flavors, because at the end of the day, to enjoy food is to enjoy life, you know?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. And every culture but in America is focused around food. Like nothing against like, you know, my heritage or anything like this, but my wife's Laotian. Some of my best friends are Persian, and I just have always been drawn to not just them as people, but
the
like
cold,
it's always like on the weekends, Bob acts like, "Hey, Hollis coming over. We got the lamb. We're bringing it." He's got like 5 kids. I bring my kids over there, and it's all about food. And it's never about let's go out to eat. It's never about oh, I just gonna open up a can of something. Like we're all men in there in the kitchen. Like mincing whatever to make kofta or whatever we're doing with like some of the kefir drinks that we make, and it's just
coming
such a
over.
do what?
Sounds
Right?
amazing.
Right. And so it's just so powerful. And then with my wife being Laotian and one of my best friend who's Vietnamese, Long, the experience there in that cuisine with all the soups and all the different herbs and the soups and the broths and all the different ways to make broth. Like people like trending broth a few years ago, and it's like so plain and simple when I see them make their broths and their soups. I'm like, this is boring. Like my wife's we're putting gongala, we're putting ginger, we're putting turmeric, we're putting clove, we're putting anise star. Like we're making a medicinal herbal tea into the broth. And then,
Yeah,
the experience of getting the right handmade noodles, not some store-bought crap, but like handmade noodles, done right.
yeah,
The Korean style of things as well, having all the pickled vegetables around, like all these different applications and all these different ways that food is the central part of the culture. And in
yeah.
America, we don't really have that. And maybe that's why I'm so attracted to it. But I grew up, my grandma, German family, German Dutch family, little Scottish. And I remember every morning there was a spread. Every lunch there was a spread, and every dinner was a spread. So that's probably actually where I got induced in that. But I wasn't always at grandma's house, even though I was there
Hmm.
a lot. And I feel like she partly raised me, her and my grandpa, because they influenced me so heavily, even though maybe I wasn't there all the time. But my mom was single. My dad was a deadbeat and decided to feed his own addictions. And God bless him, love him. But at the end of the day, he left my mom kind of trying to figure it out. So
Yeah,
she didn't have the luxury of being able to live that farm life that my grandma and grandpa did. That's why there was always a spread, because there was always a garden. There was always beef, in the freezer, or there was always something there. But the importance of food from where she came from within one generation completely shifted. Like I just started noticing that. And then that's what drew me so heavy, because all my friends, which, aren't from America, a lot of them, they're not fresh off the boat or anything like this, but they're first generation Americans. Their parents were like my grandparents. So they were still deeply
mhm,
connected to the food in a way where it's like, oh no, come over. We're grilling, we're cooking. Like this is how we roll. And then every time I'm like, well, let's just go get something to eat. It'll be easy. They're like, they look at me like, this is garbage. Like, even if it's the best, we have some amazing restaurants around us, because it's more than just prepping the food or what the food and ingredients are. I mean, it's just that whole community, that unification that happens, right? And the stories that get told and the experience that we have, and then seeing the children come in and eat and seeing their faces and their sticky hands and fingers, and just that whole experience of seeing them thrive, and seeing them just get vigor and vitality from that food. People a lot of times think it's hoshu wushu to say there's love in the food, but I would even go farther and to say there's probably even more than just love. There's probably something, another energetic field, and we can call it love because in the English language, love it has kind of like you know, it's not like in Italian, right? You're Italian, and there are like four different
Yes,
meanings for love
um,
in Italian. Yeah,
how much to a love, but ti voglio bene for somebody that means I want you well, which is there's a differentiation between love. But yes, we do in our Western worlds use love a little bit too interchangeably.
exactly.
But
So
but
anyway,
just to
I
reflect
digress.
on what you no, just to reflect back to you on what you said regarding the kitchen as a hub for community and relationship building. I mean, some of my best moments raising my children, and again, I'm going to age myself. I have a 20-year-old and a soon to be 17-year-old, and their lives are changing. But that foundation of, even on the busiest days, because you know this is just years of experience of raising kids and getting food on the table for them. It doesn't have to be so complicated if you're using, real food. It could be, a scrambled egg. It could be a fish taco with shaved cabbage. I mean, there's ways to get around, a busy lifestyle. But going back to my original thought, when they were doing homework at the table, there's something about when your back is turning and you're chopping and there's a rhythm to the kitchen, and all of a sudden they're opening up to you, they're talking about your day, because it's not like you're not focused on some particular challenge that they had. It's kind of very fluid, the kitchen, because it's alive.
Right.
It's just in an environment where I always felt most safe and
Hmm.
nourished. And I think that's what's missing in a lot of people's lives as the world becomes a little bit more chaotic and complex. There's this safety in that hub, and having people over and sharing and breaking bread and exchanging recipes. I think that's part of wellness, because it's not just taking the supplements, getting the blood test. It's living. It's part of life. It's ebb and flow. And how do we meet the demands of our day? If you're working parents, two working parents out of the home, and then how do we bring that old? I guess it is an old world vibe to get back into our kitchens and respect that time. Is there a way to bring more respect to it? And I find it to be like, the spiritual sense, where it's not only a craft but a way to meditate, and it's a form of medication, right, for the whole family. And it's a creative. I think everyone is creative, and you can have the greatest mentors telling you what to do. But I think cooking guides us to what we really need. And that gives us that space and time. But we have to share some recipes, you and your wife, because that sounds amazing.
Absolutely, yeah.
It
And to
sounds
also
amazing.
add to kind of what you're saying and to wrap that up and move to the next little section of our convo here, it's like it brings you back home, the kitchen. There's something about that saying, coming back home. We've all left home and we're out in this world
Yeah,
trying to figure it out and to understand that God's love is in the kitchen. And there's something about
yeah,
what you just said, because I remember that as a child, being at the table doing the homework. And as a parent now, like seeing the kids at the table, being in the kitchen, like you say, chopping up some carrots or, and that vibe. You enter this portal of something, and it's like this portal of homeness, this portal of love, this portal of community, and it's
yeah.
really hard for words to
The sense,
describe.
when, when all five senses are engaged, but in the kitchen.
Mm,
So
mm.
I know I have such a romantic idea of what the kitchen brings, but I've had some of the best experiences around my island. But even when you have an infant, don't underestimate having a broth, simmering in the bath. If you're home, you're postpartum. Like, don't underestimate the smells that you're creating in your kitchen. Those aromas
Mm-hmm.
are printed in our memories and in
Mm-hmm.
our taste. The first part of tasting is through smells. And I mean, I don't have any like, it sounds anecdotal, but I think looking at my children now, they have the best sense of food, and they, I have my 20-year-old off in a dorm. Very hard to find food at this age, and they're stretched in different ways of their studies and things like that. But recently, she was making chicken soup for her dorm mates, and I'm like, okay, that's my biggest
You
paycheck.
did it. You did it good. You did
You
good.
know,
Yes. Yes.
cooking is really is stories that we pass down from generations to generations. It's storytelling, right, through our
Mm-hmm.
senses.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think there's valid reasons, that sometimes, yeah, I order in. Sometimes I'm exhausted. I'm
Of
not
course.
saying that
Of
that this
course.
is the way, but because I don't want people to think that, I have this idea that if you don't cook, that means that you don't have this sensibility because you're under so many other challenges in life. But if you can bring that sense to your home once, twice, three times a week, you gradually do see that it's doable and it brings
Oh,
so many
absolutely.
benefits to it.
We
But if
have to
you,
talk about it. You know, you have to talk about this because
yeah,
people aren't doing it enough. Most people are
no, they're
ordering
under
out.
a lot of stress.
Yeah.
And
Well,
food is expensive. And people think that it's okay, like, oh, I'll just order out. It might be more efficient, but really, it's so much more expensive. I mean, I
it
came
is.
from from a place where we were Italian Americans, and there was no way we were going out to eat.
No, absolutely. I get
we
it. And like for me, it's like those experiences that I had with my grandparents as a young child, 3, 4, 5 years old. Those have affected me to this day. And without those experiences, I wouldn't be where I am here now. I wouldn't have understood the importance of good nutrition because it was eating that tomato from her